Before you skin me alive for once again daring to do yet another Battlefield 6 video, I'd like to set things straight. The core of the game is strong and can be greatly improved upon, but the way Battlefield studios are developing and changing things around the game is, just like the title says, wasted potential and a sad betrayal. Let's talk about why that is the case and why Battlefield 6 is a disappointment that DICE refuses to improve upon. Hello everyone, Chris back again with you in Gaming Zone. I'd like to take some time and actually talk about Battlefield 6's problems seriously this time around, instead of just scratching the surface with the previous rant you've seen on the channel. Some points discussed in the previous rant did age like fine milk, but there are other issues such as content support, broken updates, and terrible balance that are still valid and I'd like to focus on. The game's core is solid, but unfortunately due to either EA's meddling or DICE's incompetence seen since 2042, it can't shine bright and make everybody enjoy it to the fullest. Instead of seeing a standout return of Battlefield after years of failure, the best we got is a broken mess that resembles Battlefield in particular aspects only. But this time I have to give credit where credit is due. The game is not a pathetic pile of trash that try to copy its competitors and fall flat on its face. Let's start with the gameplay problems Battlefield 6 is suffering from, even months into its life cycle. The miserable bugs with recoil acceleration, hit registration and HDR glitch were fixed. However, those are just surface level things that can be fixed with easy tweaks. The bigger problem is the gameplay loop, which is very punishing if you are trying to have a playstyle found with Battlefield 4. Instead of allowing a more competitive approach found within the previous entries, Battlefield 6 gameplay is focused on controlling a specific point on the map, rewarding players for control than actually pushing for objectives. Objective placement is generally terrible, forcing players to reinforce their position with gadgets like portable cover and MP APS. Character visibility also has a role here. Unlike Battlefield 4, where they had specific rendering technique for soldiers, Battlefield 6 fails to implement that, making soldiers blend nearly 100% in the environment due to rendering techniques. Any excuses about realism are not accepted. It's a game we are playing, and visibility is key when you are in a firefight. Gun and vehicle balance also make the gameplay very static this time around. Weapons no longer allow you to take down multiple targets at once like Battlefield 4. Headshot multiplier basically being destroyed due to bullet types, and attachments being now locked behind XP grind instead of kills. Fighting one enemy is not an issue, but encountering multiple it's a getaway situation due to poor damage models. I'd like to add that it's absolutely miserable to grind guns in this game, and I believe it's a giant mistake DICE didn't leave the old way of unlocking attachments for them, which were simple kill counters. Vehicles are even sadder compared to guns, as they are legitimately Tincans disguised as military equipment. Because of very weak armor values and the way too powerful gadgets provided to engineers, vehicles are destroyed with little effort. Gadgets under the form of MBT laws that can auto-lock from 50 km away, RPGs with absolutely insane velocities, or mines that do 70% damage to armored vehicles make the gameplay just a nightmare for them. The outcome is once again making players concentrate in a single spot on the map and not go on an offensive from fear of being blown up very quickly. You can accommodate to such conditions, but I believe the gameplay loop is a giant downgrade to the one seen from Battlefield 4. Why should you be punished for aggressive gameplay and be rewarded for a campy one? DICE is doubling down on such behavior by introducing nerfs and patches to the aggressive gameplay respectively, and I believe this is a giant mistake they are doing. Let's dive deeper into the map design and actually explain the problems Battlefield 6 locations have. I feel like for this entry, DICE overcompensated by having more complexity and more density on the locations compared to empty fields seen in 2042. Let's call this an over-adjustment. Locations have become too dense, and that is not about the small size, but the over-detailing. A perfect example I can demonstrate of this concept is Empire State. This map being an absolute monstrosity that confuses players expecting firefights. Previous entries like Battlefield 4 for example, have a simple and linear pathway from where enemies can attack. And with multiple gameplay sessions you can learn and predict from where you will be ambushed. For example, Operation Metro Subway from this point of view. It's very clear from the start you can be attacked from these three different directions, making you prepared for an eventual conflict. Or, let's have a look at Caspian Borders Tower Flag, once again marking the directions of possible attacks, and would you look at that, another 3 vectors of attacks from enemies. The map design is simple, and makes enemy encounters much more predictable. Then we have Battlefield 6's Empire State. Yeah, just look at this disaster right here. There are so many attack vectors, you legitimately struggle to respond in time if an enemy pops up. Another problem, for example, are the multiple floors within the buildings of Manhattan. This apartment complex has about 4 floors accessible, unlike Battlefield 4 where such mechanic was applied to only one floor, while others being just hiding spots instead. First floor in particular is so wide open, it generally feels like a close quarters map. I would like to shout out Enders for doing a video on this idea first, as I believe he is absolutely right about this. Link to his coverage is in the description. Some maps are overcomplicated, while others are straight up empty fields like 2042 again. Looking at you, Blackwell Fields. Truly a miserable experience, that one. Once cover on objectives is level to the ground, it's impossible to survive unless you are in a vehicle. Only decent maps I'd say are Siege of Cairo and Iberian Offensive, but even those have flaws in them. While they are improvement over the giant empty fields of Battlefield 1 and 2042, I believe Battlefield Studios overcompensated with the design complexity, and they should tone down on such moves going forward. Sometimes, less is more, and I believe that should be the case here. Class balance is an absolute disaster in Battlefield 6, DICE actually managing to make it even worse than Battlefield 1's. While I agree that Battlefield 4 and 3 formulas for the class balance is indeed flawed, it's still much better and gives a better balance to the core gameplay and the interactivity between team members. Unfortunately, with Battlefield 1 it flew right out of the window. DICE making Assault a portable bomb arsenal, Medic class having worst weapons possible in the game, Support being a 250 bullet suppressive mobile machine, and Recon being the same useless piece of shit camping in mountains, but with a very annoying one-hit mechanic that was sweet spot. And the DICE in their infinite wisdom decided to once again inspire themselves with that nonsense, Battlefield 6 classes changing to a whole new ridiculous level. Class balance has been completely destroyed with Battlefield 6, and this is no understatement. While the debate with open and closed weapons has long been closed and left into history, the balance problem is very serious, and I believe a complete classes overhaul is required to fix the mess done by them. Support is insanely overpowered in this game, giving them not only ammo but healing abilities as well. Not only that, however, they even gave this class machine gun buffs and portable covers, to make it a complete one-man army with zero assistance to survive on the battlefield. Absolutely revolting changes that basically destroy the need for other classes' aid. Engineer still has its purpose, of course, as it's the class designed to repair and destroy vehicles. Recon is still somewhat functional since you have no penalties for sniper rifles, and you got that tugs for spotting enemy infantry. Yet the deployment beacon is gone for insane reasons, instead of properly balancing it. This is where we arrive at Assault, the class that genuinely has no purpose in Battlefield 6. It has that double weapon kit that I've ranted about since the beta, but that's the end of the benefits for it. Not only you sacrifice ammo to have double weapons, but you don't even get healing from that steam shot, which is its main feature. Only useful and very annoying thing from it is the M320 thermobaric and the M26 mass with fire rounds. What the hell were DICE thinking when designing the classes? The solution to this disaster is a complete redo of them, and bring back the Battlefield 3 class system. Preferably to have PTWs and shotguns as the only all-class available guns in locked playlist, and returning all the respective gadgets to rightful classes. Assault must become a choice between medic and small explosive weapons, Support should only supply ammo, and Recon needs that deploy beacon back with Battlefield 3's debuffs. Beacon can be easily fixed if using Battlefield 3's logic, spawning in air only from it and immediately being destroyed when self-redeploying on it. Hell, make it 3 times the size of that minuscule thing right there and the problem is solved. But there's more than just that. Nonsense mechanics like sweet spot and permadeath on headshots have to go. They are embarrassing and they have to be done with. I believe a class rebalance for Battlefield 6 should help out the situation and actually activate team play between squads and classes. While those won't fix completely the issues Battlefield 6 has, it should tone down the overpowered support class which currently is present in the game. Let's make this quick since I think I hammered this a long time ago. Vehicles are Tincans and their gameplay is absolutely abysmal, and I believe this is due to RedSec requiring lower damage models for players to actually be able to take down vehicles in that experience. Multiplayer and Battle Royale side of Battlefield 6 should have separate damage and health points for both soldiers and vehicles. Once those are split, things can be improved for the multiplayer side of the game. However, that is not the end of it all. Making different damage and health points for them isn't enough. The functional customization should be addressed as well. Features like active armor for APCs must return, proper customization for jets should return, and of course, remove the motor nonsense related to turret rotation. DICE, what the hell were you thinking when making this decision? You remove the entering and leaving animations, but leave the nonsense turret system? This should be backwards. Reason being the ability to neutralize an enemy by preventing them from entering the vehicle, just like Battlefield 1, instead of having different sensitivities when switching cameras around. Even with all of those problems detailed, I believe this point is the biggest problem that Battlefield 6 has, which EA is calling a live service, support and update cycle for the game. I've personally ranted about this issue since Battlefield 1, and man, things are not improving at all many years later. While the updates are not absolutely shameful to the level of 2042, these share in common the same problems seen before. Updates break the game every time, sometimes introducing new bugs, sometimes bringing back old bugs that were fixed before. For example, the disaster that was Winter Offensive patch that broke the game so bad, the Red Sec official tournament had to be indefinitely delayed. Who in their right mind releases a patch 2 days before a big event like that, knowing the history experienced with Battlefield 2042? Season 1 in particular was an absolute disappointment. Not only the provided content was low in amount, it was also just uninspired. Blackwell Fields, the first map dropped during the update cycle, was, and sometimes still is, unplayable trash. Eastwood is a visibility nightmare, and an average experience most of the time, it being the second and final map which was truly new content. Final update of Season 1, which was Winter Offensive, brought us a Frozen Empire state. Truly an original move there, DICE. Only problem with that patch is that it broke absolutely everything, with a couple of hotfixes dropped here and there before going on a month holiday break. People quickly grew bored of the content, since it's low in amount, while some other features got removed, like the pickup weapons, which magically vanished with the last update. If EA thinks that releasing a patch once a couple of weeks is a decent live service, we're in for a world of trouble with future content support for the game. A true live service is the formula we see with Call of Duty and Fortnite, with real hotfixes and changes once issues appear. Same can be applied with consistent new content for those games. Immediate action taken to address the problems players are going through. Meanwhile, Battlefield 6 is struggling to release hotfixes for game-breaking bugs like the drone hover, it requiring almost a month to release to finally be addressed. This is about 5 studios actually working on content support for Battlefield 6, by the way. Even then, with smaller window of updates, it's no guarantee that new patches will be a smooth sailing and won't break yet another part of the game. I have to say this though, it's absolutely unforgivable for a live service not to release hotfixes for game-breaking bugs that players are begging for to be fixed. If a game fails to at least vault or close access to specific troubled parts of its package, it should be a shame to even be called a live service. That's what I can currently say as of making this video about content support for Battlefield 6. I'm very skeptical that they are going to fix the update schedules and overall just make patches more stable, but we will have to wait and see with Season 2 and further updates to see if things are going to change. Funny thing is this Battlefield Labs program. I believe it's simply just a waste of time. Initially, while it was actually pretty useful at making the fundament for Battlefield 6, now it's mostly just content previews and seeing what is coming up next for the game. What's the point of having a beta testing build if problems end up in the final product with new patches? Pouch bug, drone floating, stairs teleporting, Blackwell Fields emptiness, all of those ended up in the retail version, even if those problems were tested in Battlefield Labs. Post-launch, the testing environment went missing for solid months until early 2026, where we are back again to seeing new leaked content for the game. But once again, I'm going to ask, what's the point of Labs if it's used for none other than seeing new content early? All I see from DICE is promises to check out vehicle balance and weapons improvement, but I am very skeptical of that. Considering the fact that nothing was addressed about the class balance and proven track record of bugs remaining for months within the game, I don't believe Labs is here to actually help the game improve. Unlike Battlefield 4 CTE, which was very useful for the title, Labs is mostly just a marketing gimmick. Hopefully I'm proven wrong in the future, but for the meantime I believe it's just a way for EA to reveal new content for Battlefield 6. Another thing which honestly has ruined the game for me is AI slop making its way into Battlefield 6. Once again, I'm going to state and enforce this. 5 studios were and are developing the game we're currently playing. 5 damned studios are making this live service tick, and yet here we are talking about this soulless nonsense appear within it. I think it's ridiculous that EA has so many developers working on Battlefield 6, yet they decide to cut corners by implementing such tools within their product. It all starts slowly at first, with a couple of icons, a couple of gun camouflages, but what prevents them from using said AI slop to generate soldier models, design maps, maybe even vehicles? The early signs were already there with the investor calls, especially touting how they're using said tools to create concepts. It's embarrassing really, yet still have to cut corners here and there instead of actually delivering something original. With that EA deal around, and them spouting about how using AI tools is good to create new content, things sound very bad. Battlefield 6 was safe at first, yet here we are talking about AI slop making its way into the game. And I imagine Battlefield 7 and further entries will suffer from even lower quality control and probably less effort put into its development. Let's talk about the new Frostbite engine Battlefield 6 is currently using. I'm going to dub it as Frostbite 4 as I believe it's actually much more different to the ones we've seen from Battlefield 1 and V respectively, more resembling the one seen in 2042. I have to state this again, this engine is a giant mess that is barely functional and struggles to give constant frame rates. Why so? The reason is that it's the same broken mess we've seen in 2042, but with a couple of improvements slapped on top of it. It's impressive that it can give you 60 FPS on a 10-year-old GTX 1060, but is it really a win when the game itself looks like plastic garbage? Battlefield 6 compared to Battlefield 1 looks like an older title, even if the gameplay mechanics and map design are much more refined. Plus, you can run the 2016 game with higher FPS and lower hardware requirements while looking better than 2025 counterpart. I also like how when you are running the game in the main menu, the GPU and CPU utilization are sky high, because DICE, instead of making a proper test range like Battlefield 4, simply decided to just make a small shooting range in the background of the main menu. Your PC is on fire like that in the main menu because Battlefield 6 is rendering the test range in real time behind that UI. The game is also not running smoothly, with higher end systems struggling to maintain high refresh rate due to lag spikes. Even playing at lower settings you can experience frame drops. Some players go as far as to even disable effects via config files just to get a smoother experience. Frostbite 4 is simply a disappointment. Instead of completely reworking the broken pile of trash that was seen with Battlefield 2042, EA decided that it can do, throwing in a couple of small tweaks here and there to make it functional. And they had 4 years to make that change. Instead, nonsense engine issues seen during 2042's days made their way into Battlefield 6, like invisible soldiers, damage model bugs, or like I said, the performance being abysmal in scenes where it shouldn't be. Last but not least, the Hulu UI, which has been inspired indirectly from Modern Warfare 22 and integrated into the game. Menus in Battlefield 6 are raw sewage. I'm not going to beat around the bush on this one. They are a nightmare to navigate through, especially when it comes to game settings, weapon customization, battle passes, and many others. Once again, Battlefield, instead of innovating with their own original ideas, they just look around at the competition, do a bit of homework copying, and calling it a day. DICE, for once in a lifetime, can you please stop looking at Call of Duty's trash UI and actually do something on your own? Battlefield 2042 being a subpar clone of Black Ops 4 was enough. No need for a clone of Modern Warfare 2023, which itself was abysmal dogshit. Let's wrap it up at that, everyone. I don't want to stretch this video any further than the core problems Battlefield 6 is currently suffering from, and not talk about anything else. I do understand there are problems such as gun balance, movement, bugs, all of those problems related to battle passes as well, but I believe these are the most important criteria that must be discussed about Battlefield 6's problems. However, I believe it's important to address these issues to make multiplayer a much better experience than it currently is. As you've noticed, I didn't address RedSec and Portal in this video, and I'm going to be real with you, I don't care in the slightest about those parts of the game. Initially, I was excited for the Battle Royale that Battlefield Studios were cooking up, but after seeing the experience being rushed out of the door, and it basically being another flavor of Warzone, I simply lost any interest in it after a couple of games. Portal in 2042 was something special, with remasters and remakes from older titles making their way into the package. But for Battlefield 6 is just a framework now that allows you to edit only existing content within the game, and it is limited as well. Yes, it does have logic behind it, but it lacks that special sauce that 2042 gave it. That's why it's not really my thing this time around. Maybe in the future my mind will change about it. DICE is once again, just like I said during my Battlefield 1 activity days, reinventing the wheel and are being delusional. I understand that bringing novelty to the table is important. Playing the same thing with a different coat of paint can become a bit boring. Looking at you, Black Ops 7 and Modern Warfare 2023. Don't pretend I don't see you. But why change things that were proven to work just right in the first place? Class system, interfaces, vehicle gameplay, map design, all of those are there as templates in Battlefield 3 and 4. Instead of listening to the community and improve upon those games, DICE is once again doing random nonsense for Battlefield 6, digging themselves into a hole where they will be stuck into. That's why the game is just a sad disappointment for me. No matter how much you ask these studios to listen to the community about the formula sentiment, they still want to do just something for the sake of changes. And it's genuinely tiring to see this for 10 years straight, starting from Battlefield 1 and now ending up of course with Battlefield 6. The game is wasting its potential with game design that is very punishing for no real reason whatsoever, instead of following the proven Battlefield formula which has worked for years now. And just like that it comes to the title, which is just a sad disappointment. I'm going to stop at that, everyone. I do have in plan to make more follow-ups as I believe there is more to discuss about Battlefield 6, but for now, I believe these were the most important parts that I wanted to highlight and talk about. Thank you for the criticism on the original rant, it has helped me out to concentrate on actual issues, not bugs and other random surface things that Battlefield 6 was suffering from. Thank you for watching this video, everyone. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to throw a thumbs up, and also click the subscribe button so you can see more content appear in your feed. Clicking the bell notifications will send you post updates when things are going live on Gaming Zone. Thank you for tuning in. See you in the next one.